So for those of you catching the pod, I just want to let you know that we'll be starting up soon. And hi Leander. Yeah, there was some technical issues on OBS on the first time I tried to launch it, so I had to take the stream down and start it back up again. We're back though, and we'll get started in just a couple minutes here with the actual gameplay. To kind of introduce the game, though, as we're going through, this is going to become a full playthrough on the channel. I'll be doing this, I think, all of next week. But this is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. The game was developed by Ninja Theory and I believe released in 2017. So this is a game about psychosis and the experiences of one young woman with psychosis. So this game is going to get really heavy and really dark by the end. So there is a content warning here that if this is something you're sensitive to, with either psychosis or suicidal thoughts, this is definitely a game to watch out for, but is a game that's been praised for its depictions of it. The game is also set in Orkney, or, well, I should say Senua is from Orkney, from the 9th century, so right near the start of the Viking Age. The Norse raided her home, destroyed her village, and now she is traveling through hell to try and get back, or try and get her loved ones back. Well, mostly just her one. Her father was kind of terrible, as we'll see. But yeah, I think we are going to get started here. We've got a pretty long cutscene to go, so I'll let us enjoy that. If you have headphones, I don't know if Streamlabs is going to project the binaural audio, but it's worth a shot because it sounds really cool. Loading, loading, loading. Such a fun screen for loading. The symbol here is actually, I think, Irish, kind of a variation on the trendy knot. But now we're actually going in with the actual game.
Hello. Who are you? Doesn't matter. Welcome. You're safe with me. I'll be right here, nice and close so I can speak without alerting the others. Let me tell you about Senua. Her story has already come to an end, but now it begins anew.
What's happening? It's breathing. It's breathing. He knows she's getting closer. He can feel her coming closer. She's getting closer.
This is a journey deep into darkness. There will be no more stories after this one.
Why is she doing this? I'm watching. She's doing this for him. He's already confirmed.
Oh, how rude of me. I never told you of the others. You hear them too, right? They've been around ever since the tragedy. That's not quite true. Some are old, some are new. They've changed. I think the darkness changed them, just like it changed her.
Can you see them? Over there.
Why isn't she looking?
Why aren't you looking hell high?
Look. Up ahead. You see it too?
You promised you could.
Yes. It is real after all. She's finally arrived in the land of mist and fog. The place the Northmen call Hell.
It's not safe. Go back. It's not safe.
Oh look, and here we have some kind of rune carving on the side here, so you can already see just how much Norse imagery there is going on here alongside the dead bodies and such.
The drowned, the sick, slain. Here they lie, rotting in the fields and rivers of hell. But the dead don't always lie still here. This is not a place of rest.
No. And they described it as a land of mist and fog, which is actually correct. We'll get to that in just a moment.
They're watching. Stop. Can you feel them watching? They're watching her.
That is
Can you feel it?
so much of this. By the way, I don't have control. This is literally as fast as we can go. But yeah, we get this really long, creepy intro.
She's afraid. Wouldn't you be? You'd think she would get used to it by now after so many years. But the darkness, it just builds onto itself, growing stronger, towering over her. You might try and ignore it, turn away. But it's always there, just out of sight, where you're most vulnerable. It's like it knows that just enough light is all you need to see its suffocating power.
They can feel
A lot of this imagery is, I think, mostly designed to
You
be.
might think she's brave to go on this journey on her own, but it isn't bravery that drives her. Bravery only means something to those afraid of death. Then it was fear, runs far, far deeper.
Anyway, a lot of this imagery is designed to appeal to modern horror ideals. Some of it does have reference to Norse practice. The human bodies are described by Adam of Bremen at Gamla Uppsala, and the animal skulls bear similarities to something like the kneading bowl. But I think the main purpose here is to be
What is she looking at?
horrific by our standards, and to kind of evoke the fear, even in this fairly bright environment, to reflect what Senna was feeling.
It's not too late to get into the boat and go back. No one will judge her. No one will ever know. Oh, she heard us. There's no going back.
You can't.
Senna pushes away a world that conspired to cause so much suffering. There's nothing to go back to, and worse to look forward to. Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a part to play in this story.
So I absolutely adore that opening. It is so long, but so good. Brother Jerome, the impression that you got from the game was that the people of the Orkneys knew Norse ideas of religion This is accurate. In the time period of the game, this is a little bit early. Though the situation that Druth goes through, where he is captured as a slave, learns the sagas and the Eddas, and then escapes, something akin to that is an entirely plausible event even in the 9th century. However, by the end of the 9th century, the Kingdom of Orkney has been founded, so the Pictish populations have been defeated, and a Norse population founds a kingdom there. And so from there, obviously Norse paganism extends quite deeply into the Orkneys and extends across to the Isle of Man, into Shetland, the Isle of Man, the Hebrides, and Ireland. So yes.
Take a closer look to see. Why isn't she focusing? She needs
Anyway,
to focus now.
yeah.
She needs to use her eyes.
Oofed. Hang on, we are having some technical problems. We're gonna let the game, or my computer, calm the hell down. Okay then, let me try and fix these real quick. We're going to turn down the graphics resolution here a little bit. So hopefully this won't screw up my OBS. We will find out in a moment. But we will turn down the resolution, which should help with some of these issues. Just give me just a moment here to restore the sizing. Okay. Apologies for that. This should be a little more stable now.
Do not forget my stories, Senua, because your darkness comes from hell, and your fate lies there. They say the burning of a corpse will take you straight to Hell's Gate, but gods and the living will follow this path. You must leave the Isles of Orkney across the eastern sea and find a road that leads north and down through deep, dark valleys. After 9 nights of riding, you will follow a great river and will find a bridge covered in gold. The path to Helheim goes from there, across the River of Knives that flows from the dark world of Niflheim.
Okay, so that was fun. So that's our first runestone. There, as you can see, are a whole bunch of runestones around the throughout the game, and each of them fills in one of those little runes along this circle. Fill them all in and you get a secret ending. I got them all on my first playthrough, which is why they're all lit up right now, but I'm still going to try and show them all off, because a lot of them will tell stories from the Eddas or from the sagas going through. I'm noticing also that the technical side of things is a little bit unstable right now, so is this still watchable for you guys? Meanwhile, we can talk about this design. This design is totally plausible for a period runestone. However, I've not translated the runes along the actual rim of the runestone itself, though the ones around the outside are all English words that are just transliterated into Elder Futhark as just the script. So I think probably for the next stream I'll try and translate these ones along the outside and see if they say. The ones along the rim here actually do spell out a sentence. I would have to actually look it up, but you can make out along the right-hand side there's the word truth spelled in Futhark, and then truth in mirror. Awesome, yeah. The bitrate does claim to recover on my end too. Good. And this environment here is, well, pretty Scandinavian. Yay! She is doing great.
Darkness is coming. Yearn for life. Hunger for it. Like a pack of wolves on a hunt. But she's not stopping.
And
Not this time.
we're fine. We are totally fine.
Land of rust and fog. The old fool was right. What was it he said? The river of knives across which lies the halls of hell. The place they call Helheim.
So this skull is the head of her lover Dylan, who she is trying to save because he was killed by Norsemen. His soul traveled to the Norse underworld instead of the Irish one, or the native Pictish one, and so she's going to try and help. Yeah, they did just announce the trailer for the second one, and
There's no doubt about it.
I think Hardruna did the
Source of the darkness is in Helheim.
the music for the trailer. I'm concerned. It'll be really interesting, but I'm kind of concerned about it because this game is so complete as a story in itself that I'm really worried about trying to tell another story with this character. Speaking of which, she very happily avoids ever looking at the camera. You can't make her. And so, such a cool little bit of design that tells you a lot about her, that she'll actually look away from the camera to avoid dealing with anything. As far as her outfit goes, you can see that there's a little bit of this like plaid tartany pattern, and then the woad tattoo, or dies, make her out to be a warrior and very much in a Scottish Pictish tradition, though that's actually anachronistic. This kind of tartan plaid wouldn't actually be in use in the 9th century.
Why is she doing this? Why doesn't she turn back? She's doing this for him. She wants to rescue him. He's already dead.
And we have up there Helheim.
His soul still lives.
A big entrance like that is obviously like fantasy that's not trying to be anything or look like anything in real life, but the building in front of us is a little bit different. It's looking like somewhere between a hall and a state church.
Know where you are?
Obviously there's no cross.
I forget its name. She forgets too. But she does remember that only the dead may cross it. That power wasn't so easy to forget. The old fool said there was a hidden path into it. Let's see, shall we?
By the way, she has forgotten the name to the Bridge of Hell. With all those terrible, terrible streams, I pulled it up if I can just find the right part of the thing. Come on. There it is, Gyrk. It's the bridge over the river Gyrk, which Gyrk translates to noisy instead of knives, but still fairly appropriate for these horrifying screams we hear. Good times. And yeah, we have up there, well, as I said, this building looks a lot like a stave church, and these pillars kind of support it, or that reading. This kind of interlaced design carved into wood is very much typical of the stavkirke from which all the surviving ones are in Norway, but very much the frontispiece for those. Now, some of those actually show scenes from Norse myth, like Sigurd killing Fafnir as a thing. So they definitely do show a little bit of a mix of pre-Christian and Christian iconography. But including one of those in the 9th century is super anachronistic. And obviously is even in the wrong religion. But that's okay, because it's supposed to look and feel super Scandinavian. And this whole place looks really, really Scandinavian. The bogs and marshes here are kind of Danish, the mountains are extremely Norwegian. So it's all just very much in line with that. Anyway, let's take a look at this.
Speak of 9 worlds. The world of men they call Midgard. Sky gods dwell in Asgard. The gods of earth, harvest, wind, and sea dwell in Vanaheim. The good elves dwell in Alfheim. The evil ones dwell in Svartalfheim. The mountain giants dwell in Jotunheim. The fire giants dwell in Muspelheim. Niflheim is the world of ice and darkness. Only the dead dwell in Helheim, and that is where you must travel.
This is actually an error. While the 9 worlds are never said in any Norse mythology, they are pretty clear that Hell is a part of Niflheim, which is why this game describes it as the land of mist and fog. Nifl is an Icelandic or Old Norse word meaning mist or fog. It's also where, like, the Nibelungenlied or the Niflungar are the mistlings, technically. Fun. So, calling it the land of mist and fog is totally accurate, because Hell is found within Niflheim, which is the land of ice, but literally translates to Mist World. There's also a part of Helheim called Niflhel, which is supposed to be a kind of deeper place where Baldur stays after he dies. But yeah, past that, it's not an independent world of its own. Okay. They said to go down, so I go down.
She can't go back now.
Yes.
No,
Thank.
this is it. The hidden path.
The voices in my head are clearly being very helpful. They mocked me for not jumping, and then I jumped, and then they said I made a mistake. So, congratulations. Well, so we've got a small problem here. This door seems to be sealed with some kind of writing, with just chicken scratches.
Don't kill me. I'm not one of them. I was just hiding. Find I live longer that way. The bastards catch me again. Never! Wait. Who are you?
Just a memory. Truth? Is that you?
For my tales of the Northmen, they call me Bruce. Liar. An old fool. truth is my truth.
It's good to see you again. You kept your vow.
I will. In this life and the next. I will tell you my stories of hell. If I may walk with you.
Tell me your stories again, old friend. I'm listening.
The runes seal the gates to hell. Focus your inner eye, and you too will see what's hidden in plain sight.
I can see what.
Hold it in your mind's eye. Find one like it to open the gate.
So, at this point we're trying to find a rune or a symbol somewhere in the world. Like this. That looks like this rune. Ta-da!
Look towards the gate. And the gate will open.
And then we can go back to the gate and do that.
The gate is open. Go through the gate. Go through it. It's dangerous. Follow it.
So, why? And Leander asks, why does the god of everything good kept somewhere
Spent 6 years
deeper
enslaved in hell.
and colder? It doesn't sound
I
nice.
watched them all.
Yeah. And,
Learned their ways.
I know you did.
You listened when everyone else laughed. My people pay a heavy price. Carry my stories with you, and together we will make the Northmen feel our fury.
yo, so the reason why Baldur, well, it's not super clear why Baldur is there as opposed to just in regular Helheim. But,
Humans tried to make
you
them
know.
go away. Pretend they weren't real. But what good is that? When we are always here.
The sources are not super clear as to why Baldur is there instead of in regular Hell, or given that he was slain, why he doesn't go to Folkvanger or Valtech. But Baldur's Dreamer, one of the Eddic poems found somewhere other than our main manuscript, is pretty clear that he is kept in Niflhel, which is possibly just supposed to be where gods go, is I think one interpretation that's been proposed, as the name is not all that common.
I guess it's the same with heights. You can stand on the edge, pretend it's going to be okay. But you know that death is near, waiting for you to make that little slip. You can't just wish things away.
Okay. By the way, it is actually possible to die right there. I have done it before, so I was kind of focusing.
The world of the dead is ruled by the giantess, Hela, daughter of Loki. The gods feared her bloodline, bad on her mother's side and yet much worse on her father's. So, as a child, the Allfather cast her down into Helheim and gave her power over those who die of sickness, age, hardship, and self-slaughter. In all of the 9 worlds, only Hela can resurrect the dead. To Hela, your Dillion was sacrificed, and with her you must bargain.
So yeah, obviously this game chose to translate Hell to be Hela, to have the Latin grammar rules. In the Norse text, she is simply Hell. None of this A ending on it, but that's fine. It does distinguish between the goddess and the place, which is something that's kind of needed. And we survived that, so we are into the next area of the game.
Oh, stay back. Look at it. You have to open it.
The gate to Helheim divides the living from the dead. at the face of Hela herself. The half-rotten goddess that rules over Hellfire. Whatever horrors lie behind that door.
And warning, this one gets a little bit spooky.
Shh. Someone's here.
And here's our combat tutorial. Do.
You took him from me. I beg you. Let him go. I'll give you what you want. I won't resist anymore. Just give him back.
And yeah, so here we go. Here we have the enemies of the game, who emerge from nothing into nothing.
It's nearly over. Finish it.
And you can see they've all... I'm just going to kite this guy for a little while so we can take a look at him. Because there's plenty going on. Ow. Could you not? I'd totally parry that. There we go. Anyway. So we're just gonna kind of take our time here. You can see he's got an animal skull head and has these vaguely horn-like things, but otherwise is wearing very few clothes, deerskin, belt, and these kind of wrapped boots and shoes. So, hey look, and here's another one we can't do anything about. No matter how good I am, I can't actually hurt these guys. So that sucks. So I'm just gonna get it over with. Could you, please? There we go. Anyway, this is gonna go great for her. She is mangled, bleeding, and that black arm looks not good for her. So yeah, that's the game. She just died.
A vision of what's to come. Poor Senua. The darkness does not bargain. It does not reason. It is rot. And now it has taken hold. It will spread towards her head, the seat of the soul, until there is nothing left of her. All of her suffering will have been for nothing. As just a matter of time.
Yeah, so this should make it pretty clear that there's a lot of questions as to what's real or not each time, or throughout this game. How much of this takes place in your head, how much of this takes place in physical space. So yeah. What the game seems to be saying here is that if we die too many times, it will wipe the save data. Which is quite the bold choice.
Thought in the mind. That is what Lillian taught her. With every defeat, the dark rot will grow and soon it will take her soul. But for now, at least, she still has control of her mind. And she will fulfill her vow, whatever the cost.
Listen to me, Senua. The goddess Hela lies behind the gate to Helheim. To open the gate, you must first face the gods that guard it. The god of fire, Zurt, and the god of illusion, Valravan. Spill their blood to open the gate to Helheim and enter the land of the dead.
Correct. Brother Drum, you are right. The game actually straight up lied to us there. Well, there's a lot of misdirection. I think that's the only time where it truly lies, where it is trying to kind of instill the same desperation that goes on. And to some extent it does show that with the cosmetic change of her hand here. Does actually grow as it goes on, to a point. But it will never actually get to the end until the end of the game, and even if you never die, this dark rot will creep up. So it's not actually death-based, it's progression-based in the game, and so the end is, well, when you get to the end it actually does wipe your save data. You can't, it keeps track of how many of these you've got, but it won't let you actually reload that save world. So it's not technically wrong, it just it's impossible for you to fail too many times to break Senua's will and get your save data deleted. Good times. Let's go listen to more storytelling.
The Northmen say that in the beginning there was nothing but darkness. Bitter cold to the north, fiery hot to the south. They say the cold formed ice, which melted from the sparks from the south. The power of the darkness gave life to the dripping ice, and the first giant was born, and was named Ymir. The ice continued to drip, and the power of the void gave life to it, and it became a cow, whose milk fed the giant. That's right, a cow, but you weren't expecting that.
So yeah, obviously that's telling part of the story of the creation as contained in several places, Vafthrudismal, Villismal, Grimnismal, and the Prauzeda, the Gilbegidding. This base we're in is another hall. You can see, again, wooden construction and very tall. I think this one is better to interpret as a hall rather than a church, or a stavkirke. But either case, we're seeing a lot of the same similarities. Something I would like to see in the design here, even with these braziers, is that there would be little gold plates left on the pillars here. Those are something called a gold foil, which are well attested in Scandinavian halls throughout the Viking Age. They'll depict mythological and historical motives, just stamped into these little pieces of gold leaf that we often find in the posts from where those got buried. We also have the two designs here. Oh, looks like we're going to Surtur instead of... I didn't want to do that, I wanted to do Valravn first.
Surt, the fire giant has answered. He comes from a land older than mankind. The Northmen call upon his flaming sword to raise their enemies to the ground.
They don't actually.
Find him, Senua, and spill his blood.
We're going to back off from that so we can take a look at Valravn instead. Obviously, well, Surtur
She found
is...
the wretched old fool on her way back from the wilds. An outcast, was badly burnt all over. She took pity on him, for he was not long for this world. Like her, who spoke of his own darkness. The Northman.
You know, we'll come back and talk about Surtur. Let's talk about Valravn first.
Valravn, ancestor of the seers and master of ravens. He hunts his prey with his powers of illusion and feasts on their remains. Follow the path to Valravn and defeat him in battle to earn his mark. The gate to Helheim cannot be opened without it.
Oh, look, we can see more runes carved in bronze here. Unfortunately, I'm actually really awful at the Futhark alphabet, so I'll pull it up here and I will try to do things. See if we can do a bit of translation work here as we're going. And as I do that, I need to remember to turn on the lights in my room as I'm doing this. Like, it's finally starting to be light out for longer than 4 PM in Iceland, so I'm forgetting to turn on my lights before the stream starts. Anyway, so we have Halagas, Ehwas, N-A, so N-E or H, so so the headset is H-E-N-A-Z, so Hednaz, which could be supposed to be Hednar, so genitive of the personal pronoun, so her there, but it's hard to say. It's also not clear where the first word is supposed to be on these. It's not a repeating... Well, it's not... It is a non-repeating texture, which is cool. So that is actually probably saying something. But I am not sure what. I will... Let me grab a note here and I will copy those down, and next stream I will let you know what these runes mean. Spoilers, though I am trained in the Scandinavian Middle Ages, I am not a runologist. I have actually very little interest in runes for most purposes. That's alright. They are a very large part of this game, so I've looked up a little bit about them, and I'll make sure I keep looking up a little bits about them to try and do it justice. Do. And one more word there. No, that's back to the beginning. Okay. It looks like these are. Oh, the bottom row is unique too. Okay. Apologies that this is taking a little while. I just want to make sure I've got all the things we need to. I don't have that. Okay, I'm actually missing a few two row words there. Interesting. Okay, so these are all. That. That. And one more while you're there, and then we'll get back on our way. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I've got those translated down, or scribbled down. Looks like the bottom row is also... the bottom row is not unique. Yeah, the top and the bottom row say the same thing, so I'm not expecting this to be a super significant texture, because it's just a row of text that's offset from itself on every single pillar, but I do want to see if that translates to anything or if it's just gibberish. Anyway, with that note, Valravn. Valravn, if you're familiar with the Norse corpus, that name probably comes out to you as confusing because it's not a name from Old Norse mythology. Valravn actually is a 19th century Danish bogeyman that is told to scare children as a kind of demonic raven that will walk in and steal you if you've been a naughty child. So including him here, out of all the possible mythologies, is kind of weird. I'm still really not sure what to make of it. I think it's that his powers happen to be really appropriate for what they're going for, and so they decided to use that as opposed to a more traditional figure.
Ymir was a frost giant, a being of darkness, and all his sons and grandsons were dark after him. Of his daughters and granddaughters, some were monstrous, while others fair. But there was another who came from the ice. Buri. In shape, he was like a man, big and powerful. His son, Bor, took a fair giant to be his wife, and they had 3 sons. Odin was the eldest, and the Northmen hold him to be the foremost of the gods, the All-Father.
Okay, so this is just continuing the story as found in Guild Beginning, with some emendations. Notice that Drew thinks that the Jötnar are beings of darkness. This is not really a belief that's supported in the Old Norse corpus. There's no real indication that the Jötnar were supposed to be straightforwardly evil or monstrous in the eyes of pre-Christian Scandinavians, though they were certainly antagonists to the gods that the that people actually pray to. So yeah,
We need to go. Focus.
Illusion hides the path to Balravn. Don't trust your eyes. Find another way to see the truth.
okay, so we need to line this symbol up, and it will delete this wall. Anyway, what we see here is it's I think it's an original design based on the kind of aesthetic design we see on stave churches, with this raven head motif being repeated 3 times in a kind of similarity to the Trinity knot that we've seen on the banners, which is a Norse symbol. So this is kind of fulfilling a similar role. Anyway, something's not right in this room, and now things are really kind of spooky.
What's that? It's a door. No. It's push us. Push it. Come on. Push it. He did it.
Aren't the voices so proud of us? Anyway, we've got here another kind of this head. This is a dog's head on a pole. There's a human head on a pole. Something like this. Again, I think is supposed to look more monstrous, but does bear similarities to Wicker Man practices, or in this case, especially some kind of like kneading pole. So that's a deer skull instead of a horse skull. Anyway,
It's funny.
spooky.
We all want to see behind the veil, don't we? Once we do, we mostly just close our eyes again and pretend what we saw was never really there.
So we just deleted the wall from existence, and so we can keep going into this kind of well-shaped thing. Oh boy, we are probably going to lose some frames here. I just saw some frames drop on in the game, so fair warning if we have more technical problems. Sorry. Anyway, so we come back up and we look at more.
Could close her eyes. However hard she tried. Begged.
More illusions. We've got just like pikes of skulls with deer antlers on them, so this is kind of in line with the enemies that we're about to have to fight. Come on. Why don't we just... Weird. Are we gonna have... Is this just a door we can open? This may just be a door we can open. Yep. Okay.
This is the price she pays for seeing things differently. Because once you gaze into the relentless darkness, all that lurks within it can see you too.
They look great. Anyway, we have another one here, this staying power totemic thing, with ribs and ribs on skulls, and I mean, some of the popular imagining that looks so much like is like the headhunter type things. But also we've got these guys.
They're overwhelming. Surrounding her. She's going to lose.
not such a hard fight. They are all luckily very slow, and do not have shields yet. Which is good.
The Northmen will not stop her. She will find what she's looking for.
Anyway, yeah, this all has kind of underlying it ideas of like headhunters, vaguely. I don't think like intentionally or explicitly referencing them, but still this kind of totemic figure of just vague rituals involving bones and all sorts of body horror as a result, and some kind of human sacrifice. Human sacrifice was practiced, but sometimes with hanging bodies, it is claimed to exist on quite a huge scale. Claimed to. Not really confirmed. We have not found evidence of the scope of hanging sacrifices as is depicted in Admiral Bremen at Uppsala. But obviously Odin sacrificed himself to himself on Yggdrasil at hung for 9 nights to get knowledge of Seidr magic. So there certainly is undoubtedly some kind of hanging sacrifice, and there is sacrifice of strangling people and or throwing them into bogs. Animal sacrifice also exists for a variety of ritual purposes, though I don't know how long they'd leave the bodies hanging up like this. So yeah, this is kind of operating in a weird mix of being somewhat historically based, but also exaggerating that based on stereotypes of sacrifice and warning imagery, trying to be as gruesome as possible. Which is fine. So now we're trying to...
Raven's power of illusion comes from ravens. Align the ravens to break his magic seal.
Show me what you have seen, Truth. Look how much it's changed.
Yes. Yes, quite. Anyway, another point with some of these is the like skulls plus antlers, the human-animal hybrids that make up the enemies, and some of the sacrificial totems is an intentional thing. Human-animal hybrids are present in Norse literature. We'll talk about them in just a moment. One such instance of human-animal hybrids comes from Hrolf's Saga Kraka, one of the Norse legendary sagas. We should just run back down normally. In that, due to a curse, a woman's husband was turned into a bear due to a curse and was killed for it. But told his wife or lover before he died that when he died, she should take a ring from search his body and take a ring that he has put in his mouth.
An imposter world, where the forest itself is watching.
And then said, for no reason should you eat part of my body, even though the person who cursed me will surely ask you to do so. And so she did as he asked, except she took the ring and was doing pretty good until the queen, who was the one who had cursed her husband, forced her to eat part of his flesh. As such, the 3 children she bore from the last night with him were all first. One of them was half deer, and was an incredibly swift runner and incredibly strong. I do not remember what the second one was. I need to look that up. I don't have the book on me or in reach right now. But the third one looked normal, but had the spirit of a bear. Um,
Align the ravens with the mark of
hmm,
Valravan.
Let me just try and find this. Do, 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 do.
Can't you see? Look around.
Where is it?
Line up the ravens.
Boulevard. There it is. Okay. So anyway, where is it? That's not. Those are not. That's not helpful. Anyway, the third son, Boulevard, was originally or looked human, but had the ability to go into a trance and take the form of a giant bear that just murdered everything.
I hear something.
If you hear the soul of Valravan, follow it, and it will lead you to him. But be aware of his illusions. You can't always trust your eyes.
Okay, so the super spooky song says,
Valravan, challenge me.
look at him.
Listen, because you need to go.
Isn't he pretty?
He's gone.
Wait.
Where'd he go? Where is he? Follow your
Hmm. 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 So as you guys can guess, we're actually picked those two, Valravn and the fight there. Anyway, I was saying something about Budvar. Yep. So he's one of a bunch of human-animal hybrids. Uh, Werewolves are of course one of the most common, but there are definitely others. He is one of them, being able to take the form of a wolf or of a bear. In the final battle of Pearl Sagataka, one of his companions gets really mad at him for sitting inside, while his bear form wrecks everything because he can't control both at the same time.
Fight me.
So the idea of kind of a deer-animal hybrid, or a
Last winter, before the tragedy, she journeyed into the wilds of her native land, living off of berries, roots, and rabbits. It's not uncommon, you see. We call such a person a Gelt. Some, like Truth, become Gelt in search of penance. Others, like Senua, to purge a curse. Those who make it back are forever changed.
and yo, we're gonna fight Valravn for real this time. Or not. Well, it's fun, but instead of worrying about that, we're actually going to go back to where we came, because there's another runestone to get to. Do-do-do-do-do. Because we can do this. And now be able to, instead of going through this totally solid wall, we can go through this one. And get to another room. And then
The Northmen say that Odin has two ravens. Their names are Thought and Memory, and each day he sends them out to fly all across the world. Upon their return, they perch on his shoulders and tell him everything they have seen and heard. In this way, he learns of things far and wide, and for this reason, he is called the Raven God. Cinnamon, like Odin, use seek wisdom through thought and memory if you are to succeed in your quest.
okay. Yo, that's basically an exact quote, or a quote from Grimness now. As just a how to though in Grimness model he says
She can get up now. She can do it.
he says that he fears that they won't come back, but of the two, he's afraid of his memory going more, I believe.
Dark magic.
It's Munin he fears more, or for.
It's not. It's not him. It's a trick. She's doing it on her own. He's not tricking her. It's magic. It's an illusion.
So the voices in our heads seem to disagree as to whether what we are doing is magic of our own, or if Volravn is letting us get closer. The game leaves this kind of ambiguous, but it seems to be that we are actually beating Volravn's illusions because Senua's psychosis enables her to see the world in a way that can see past all of the deceits by finding patterns that aren't there except for when they are. This is something that the game actually got criticized for, I believe, is the question of whether it is a problem that the voices in your head are actually warnings, and the patterns, seeing patterns in random objects, is a good thing, or portraying that as a helpful thing is a problem. I think it works, but I am not someone who suffers from mental illness of any form, certainly nothing so severe as this, so I won't comment.
When we think of a shadow in the woods, a creature in the night. If only it were that simple.
Yeah. So here we,
Kind comes without warning.
well,
Deep and primal signal from within. A reminder that just because you cannot see the threat, it doesn't mean that it's not already here.
so yeah, there's a mammoth skull here. I legit have no clue why there's a mammoth skull here. It looks cool, it looks spooky, but I have no idea why. Oh, loading zones are bad.
She can't go in there.
We couldn't get in, and so we look around more.
Find a way, Senor. Go on. Find your own path. There's a different way.
Can't get that way. So we go underneath there. And as you can see from how dark everything is, we're about to have another fight. Yeah, come on. Ow. Jerk. At this point of the game, the fights are not too hard, and running attacks are extremely broken. So, which is good. I enjoy that this combat is not too challenging, though I believe I actually turned it down last time I played through the game, because I was just collecting images for a paper. Oh well, we finally have a good one to look at this. Carved, kind of like rune staff, more than an actual thing. It's partly moss, covered in moss, but also you can see remnants of red ink or red dye on the wood. That's totally legitimate. Pretty much, so if there's any pigment on surviving runestones, it is this shade of red. You can see that some of the ones found in Denmark. Around Aarhus, there's one at Moscow that has a really nice one, which also has a face that looks a lot like the Surtur face that they use.
The Northmen say that Odin and his brothers killed Ymir, and that the world of men was formed from his corpse. They made his bones into stone, and his flesh into earth, and his blood into the salt sea. They set his skull to be the bowl of the sky, with his brains for clouds. Odin and his brothers caught the sparks flying from Muspel and made them into stars. And to protect the new world from the giants, they used Ymir's great curving eyebrows as walls.
Yeah. So we continue the beginning story there, and we can see a bunch of the rest of the game, or at least of this part of the game. You can see these high mountains look honestly more Scandinavian than Scandinavia does. Some of the Norwegian mountains look like this, but even like in Iceland, the mountains are actually a lot shorter because they were all formed underneath glaciers. So this actually looks way more Scandinavian than parts of Scandinavia. But and over there we can see, actually that's where Surtur is. That big fire is the boss arena for Surtur, which we will get to soon. Ish. And across the other side we... Yeah. We're right up close to Balraven now, which means we're going to get there actually very soon. Here's another one of these designs. These are actually like picture perfect stave church carvings. I don't know that we have any carvings of this type from halls. Certainly nothing this clear. Well, that's fine. And here's another one of these just ropes of skulls on spikes with the deer antlers. And so yeah, like this kind of exact deer-human hybrid is actually present in the Norse literary corpus, though I don't know of any totemic uses for them. I will also put a disclaimer, but I've not yet looked up, or I've not really looked a whole lot at sacrificial rituals for pre-Christian Norse religions.
To leave everything behind. Your home, loved ones, to head deep into the wilds, perhaps never to return. Senua does. Because when darkness speaks, it changes everything. Turning home into a foreign land and loved ones into strangers. Exile makes sense when you realize that you were never really home in the first place.
Yeah. So this is still developing the story of like guilt and Senua's self-imposed guilt. That's actually a legitimate thing in Irish practice and Pictish practice as well. That they are a form of outcast who's very much needed but very much not welcome. Which is an unfortunate combination. Well, they are thought to be able to see the world in a different way. Well, I can see it.
Oh, Raven. Raven's son. It's over here. It's over here.
There's basically two loops.
It's over there. No, it's here. There's two. Listen, focus. Listen. It's magic. It's magic. It's magic. This reminds her of somewhere. The forest. Where? Which forest? The forest in the wilds. The wilds. She went to the wilds a long time. Why did she go to the wilds? She wanted to fight her own darkness. She thought she could beat her own darkness. Did she beat her darkness? No. It nearly killed her, but she tried. Druth helped her. If it wasn't for Druth, she'd be dead. She can't beat her own darkness. She wanted to marry Dillian. She came to beat her own darkness and marry Dillian. But she didn't work. She thought her curse would affect him. She thought her curse would spread to him. She thought she'd bring the darkness to him too. She nearly died. She thought the curse made her tainted. Druth helped her.
Just need to figure out where we're going. I'm actually not super sure because I thought I was supposed to go through that gate. That's alright. Let's see if we can get over there. I don't see a change there. I don't see a change there. Oh, there. Okay, yes. There is a change. And somewhere around here I know there's another brimstone. Anyway, we're gonna keep going through this horrible area. Well, this game has really clever uses of overlays and these like FMV effects on top of the game. I gotta say, it's actually quite a lot taken visually. There it goes. Okay. We can go through. No, I need to open the way first, and then I can go through. Yeah, and on more of the Super Mario nitpicks, the like big stone buildings like this aren't really a thing at this time period. Which is not a big deal, but it is just a thing. Not lost, I'm going to get a runestone. Yeesh.
The Northmen say that Odin is always in search of knowledge, wisdom, and magic. There was a very wise being named Mimir, who guarded the waters of wisdom which flow from the roots of the world tree. Odin wished to drink from this spring, but he had to pay a price. So he gouged out his own eye as offering to Mimir. He drank from the well and traded one way of seeing for another.
Yep. And thus far, pretty much all the stories we've heard from the runes come straight out of our Eddas. Mostly the Prose Edda, though not entirely. The Poetic Edda does play its part. And now we gotta keep going to try and hunt down these two Valravens that are making our days sad. Plenty of making our days sad. Anyway, I was like a big stone construction like this exists in Ireland from not long after this time. But I don't know of any surviving structures made out of stone in Scandinavia from the 9th century. They may exist, I've not done a whole bunch of research, but I can't think of any. So, including something like this is technically anachronistic, but it feels very evocative, and this is definitely a game and a group that cares a lot more about being evocative than about being perfectly accurate.
They've gone. But where? Raven's helping? He's not helping. It's true.
Quiet. I can't think. Out in the wilds. In cold winter woods.
Where?
She no longer felt fit for this world. She almost gave in to the darkness. But she remembered Dillian's words. She remembered her promise. She resolved to fight on and kill that which had become part of her.
Yep. Okay. What else have we got going on here? We've pretty much said a lot of the things I wanted to around this story so far, but there will of course still be more to come. What does this one change? Well, no matter. Here is the last runestone for this area. So you can see we've completed, well, you can't actually see it, but we've completed the entire first word, I believe.
The Northmen say you must sacrifice in order to receive. They tell how the runes were revealed to Odin only in sacrifice. He hung himself from the world tree, and he stabbed himself with a spear, and he dedicated the sacrifice to himself. For 9 nights he hung on the tree without food or drink, and at last he saw the runes below him. He gave a cry, and gathered them in his mind and learnt them. Then he fell from the tree.
Well, I'm not hearing the voices in my head tell me that I did anything right, so we're going to keep wandering around until they decide to give me some assistance. Ah, is that one already used? Well, I'm curious, does the binaural audio work on the stream as well as in my headphones? No? Or that just deletes that. That just deletes that one. Okay. How do I get over there? Okay, I see it. Here we go, now we are back on track. Possibly. Yo. Yep, here we go. We get across this, and then we should be able to get through a few more. Sadly, what we don't see yet is what happens when Sentinel focuses. She just kind of zooms in so far, but soon that's going to change. And we're going to see the other kind of thing. Anyway. But
The ravens. Where have you come? Because she did it, doesn't she?
Looking back, I was so naive to think she could banish it on her own. The further she saw into the darkness, the more she struggled to see anything at all. And the glow, the smallest hints of shape, sound, thought, grew in strength until they consumed her whole. Before she knew it, darkness had her in its claws. There is no such thing as victory when it comes to the darkness. Light does want to kill her. Yet, will gnaw at her, biding its time. Only when she is at her weakest will it strike to kill.
Yep.
Will she find Dillian before her time comes?
well, this game continues to be a little hard to look at with all these overlays, but that's okay because we've made it up top. And she's clearly not well, but she's doing okay for the time being. And now we, having talked about human-animal hybrids, the thing that's cool about them is that they are all supposed to be way stronger than a normal person. Whether that's running fast, being strong, turning into a bear, turning into a wolf, they're supposed to be strong and they're supposed to be dangerous. So it's ideal for us to go forth and fight one of them, right?
Overcome Valravan's final illusion to face him in his keep. I know you can do it, Senua. You have the sight.
We both see the darkness. We can fight it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna learn a lot about Druth in the next area. Uh, eh, a lot of the Surtur area is about him. But in short, he was a slave for 6 years, uh, and actually escaped from the Norse before Senua found him. He was originally nobility, so he was actually a highly educated. What changes? Not sure what this one does. Odd.
Speak to me, Drew.
Ah, there.
Tell me a story.
The path is open now,
Senua,
I
listen.
believe.
I will tell you the tale of a man called Findan. The Northmen captured Findan's sister, and his father sent them to pay for her release. But they took his gold, put him in chains, and held him for a day and a night without food or water. Then they released him. I don't know why. Upon his return, his father's enemies in Erin set fire to his home. His father burnt to death, and his brother was killed. But he escaped with sorrow in his heart. His father's enemies offered redress for his loss and invited him to a feast. It was at a hall near the sea. But when he went there, they betrayed him to the Northmen, who enslaved him and took him to hell. 6 years later, his slave masters landed on the shores of Orkney, burning all before them. And into that fire, Findan made his escape. What was Findan burnt away that day. But from the flames, a new man stepped forward, and Druth was born. Druth, the man that I am now.
You,
And though Findan never set eyes on his dear sister again, I, Druth, have found you, Senua.
I wish you could have seen my home before these dark times.
and we make it across onto us. And ta-da! Ta-da!
The gate is open. Open.
This darkness. I know it from the wilds. It's coming back for me.
And there's Balroggen right behind us.
I'm still here. Are you too? Where are we?
Okay. So even the voices in Senua's head are not super clear as to what's happening. But even though Senua seems to be taking this,
It didn't end well in the wilds. It never does. You think you can overcome the darkness, make sense of it, and once relief settles in, strength stands no more, throwing you hopelessly back into the maelstrom, drowning the mind in fear, deeper, deeper, driving you down so far into the void that maybe this time there is no coming back. But there, in the darkness,
Senua,
she remembered what he told her.
hear me. Reach out to me. Senua, take my iron mirror. Look into it, for it is a window into the underworld. Within, you will see the face of the darkness that you fear. And if you focus, like I have taught you to, you will also see that as much as the darkness has you trapped within its veil, it too is trapped within yours. Focus. Focus. Focus.
I see you. I see you now. You led me to the wilds. You trapped me there.
And this is such a fun fight. Ow. Damn, I didn't want to do that because I'm gonna need this focus time. And yeah, again we still have these. I'm gonna say a little more about these guys because being human-animal hybrids of this type works, but ow. Oh, god damn it. That's fine. We can pierce Valrobin's darkness by using that, and we can see here in the focus meter we've actually got some a different kind of ruin present. And in that other kind of runes are a lot more angular and just kind of straight lines. And yeah, we just killed Valrobin. So we just beat the human-animal hybrid, and so we get his power in that mark. Which is also a trope in the Norse literature. If you either defeat one by trickery or by force, or it decides to give you its strength, then you get some aspect of that animal as well.
There were times when she considered letting go. If it weren't for truth, a chance encounter in the wilds, she would not have heard his stories of the Northmen. And she would not have this chance to find Dillion's soul. I'm coming.
What? There we go. So, they either by force or by by them having to give it away, willingly, then you can get some of their power. It's been argued the same thing was done with swords, but I don't find that particularly plausible, to be honest. Where they would like burn animal bones in for ritual purposes. It's possible. It wasn't result in a particularly better sword, so I am just not sure on that. Also, in here, we have the remains. That it's buried, but you can kind of see it. In fact, I may try and make it a little easier for us to see it here. We'll turn on photo mode. No? That didn't work? Okay. That's a shame. Then we don't have a way to... I'm not going to fiddle around too much to make this work. But you can see kind of inscribed in here is a Wegvisor with runes along the outside. Again, I can't get a full thing of all these runes to translate them, see if they actually say anything. I don't think they do. But the Wegvisor here is one of those like stereotypical super duper Norse things. Of any sort of like magic symbol, if it's not just regular runes, then it's a Wegvisor. But that's not actually Norse at all. It does come from Scandinavia, but it's not Viking Age or even medieval. The Wegvisor is contained in the Icelandic grimoire, which is, I believe, dates to the 16th century. So it is quite late. And so it's not just kind of tacked on as clearly anything that is magical and looks kind of sort of old must be pre-Christian, must be really old. So in the 19th century, scholars assume, or really popular conscience more than scholars, assumed it was Norse, assumed it was really old Norse, and so didn't question that logic at all. Where am I going? I do not remember where I am going. Good times. Not that way, not that way. Now, getting out is supposed to be the easy part of this. How did I manage to screw this one up? I am kind of impressed with myself. So that just goes back into there. Weird. I don't know what I did, but I don't have an easy way out. Pretty sure I'm not supposed to go up here. Whatever. We will figure this out, we will get back on our way. what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the vague beast here is definitely like this like boat Norse that people in the 19th century assumed because it was magical it had to be genuinely old and pre-Christian when it's just not. But it's so firmly planted in popular conscience that there's a whole lot we can reasonably do about that. Um, anyway, that seems to have still not helped me at all. There's supposed to be a door like right here. But at least we get to listen to this gorgeous, gorgeous music. There it is. Okay. Just need to find a way to get into the tunnel here. Well, that did not help. Don't know what I'm doing, but I think I finally found the way I'm supposed to go. Woohoo! Anyway, we're still gonna try and get through Surtur, and then I think we'll leave it off when I kill Surtur for today's stream. And we'll get back into more mythology and more stories to tell about that in a moment. Right now we're just going to enjoy this music, which I don't know is based on anything. It definitely sounds nice. And fits kind of a relatively peaceful tone. Well, that's not right either. How is that not right? Well then. I genuinely don't know where I'm going. This is awkward. I'm sorry I have to make you guys witness me running around like a fool. Till I just literally forgot how to leave the area. Let's get a look around and see all this kind of birch forest area. Well, for those of you who are in chat still, is there anything you guys want to hear about? That I can just kind of ramble about while I try and figure out what on earth I'm doing? Oh, that's what I did. I walked out the wrong door, which explains a lot of the problems. Anyway, we walked out the correct door this time, so we get to see the mammoth head again, but this time in daylight.
When she was younger, she would lay in the grass and stare at the clouds. And then she saw them. Elusive. Shifting faces. After a while she could see the faces everywhere. The trees. The mountains. Caves.
Oh, I went too fast and skipped some audio. Um, hmm. There are some places where we can actually see faces that'll speak to us. I don't think we've seen any of them yet, but there's one later inside a waterfall. Oh, leather armor, yes.
Can you see the faces too? They're there. If you look for them.
So, I actually heard some... there's one.
Mother.
After we see this, I'll talk about leather armor, since that is what she's wearing.
Sight. Just like I do. Once you can see into the underworld. The underworld and all the souls within it will see you. Don't be afraid when they speak to you. I will always be here to guide you.
Did you see her? That was her mother, Galina. She was a priestess, a healer. She taught Senua to see the weave that binds the world together. And it was beautiful. It was a time before the darkness. But when it did come, it first came for her mother. Senua still sees her face from time to time, hidden in the mud. Like she's still watching over. She misses her so much.
Okay. So, we're gonna see her more and we're gonna learn more about what happened to Galena later. But yeah, you wanted to hear about leather armor? We can do that since Senua is kind of sort of wearing leather armor. She's got cloth on the sides, but does seem to have a leather front and back. So yeah, we can talk about that. And I actually need to contradict something I said a couple weeks ago, because I did some more research since then and saw, thanks to a very nice analysis on Ask Historians, and turns out leather armor is in fact a thing that exists, contrary to what many people will say. It does not exist in the form that D&D describes it, but it does exist. And in fact, the word for armor, if you've heard of a leather cuirass, that is derived from the French word for cured leather. Okay, we got another fight here. Apparently this guy thinks armor's too cool. At all. So... Ow. He is not.
Don't let them surround you.
Hey, cool. So this guy is wearing a... Ow. Jesus Christ, that hurt. Okay, oh yeah. You can see these kind of super angular runes. Ow.
Remember your training.
Anyway. Yo. So, couple points I'll get back onto leather armor. You could see in there the glowing white runes of like a line with two lines parallel to it. Those are something called the Aucum runes. So those are actually an Irish inscription type used in this time period in the 8th and 9th century on stone that are found on a whole bunch of inscriptions from Aucum. So they're a very Celtic type of rune as opposed to the Norse type, though they obviously exist alongside Christianity, unlike Elder Futhark. Admittedly, also, this is in Elder Futhark, That's actually not. These Norse runes are Elder Futhark, and they're actually not. That's not the type of rune system that was used in the Viking Age. By that point, it was Younger Futhark turning into Proto-Norse. So yeah. The other point is that the guys we fought very much fit into the Berserker archetype for popular conceptions of Vikings. You could see they had like that regular helmet, no horns, thank God, but that had a mace and a shield. Now a flanged mace like what they had, while it looks very mace-like, is actually late medieval, 13th century development as a resistance to better types of armor. Using that against no armor at all is utterly pointless. It does no better than just a steel ball does. So, it's a nice bit of aesthetics and fitting a popular conception of the Vikings while committing a tiny bit of an anachronism. They're also, yeah, as Brother Jerome points out, super buff and super tall. They were not, historically. The popular conception is that they're these huge tall beings, and certainly some of the monks that describe them in the medieval sources have an interest in making them look like they're these super tall beings. But they're not, historically speaking, that's just not. Skeletons are almost exactly the same size. There's maybe a couple centimeters difference, but it's marginal at best. And to go back to leather armor, well, Druth, or after Druth talks about us.
This story. Before the earth was created, there was a world called Muspel. Because it was in the south, it was bright and hot, flaming, burning. Sparks that flew out from Muspel became the stars. Other sparks melted ice in the frozen world of Niflheim, creating the body of the first giant, Ymir. Muspel is one of the 9 worlds, and is now the land of fire giants, and people from elsewhere cannot endure a journey there.
Yeah, so that kind of gives away what's going to happen in this level. There's going to be a lot of fire. Which kind of sucks. It will hurt. Anyway, leather armor. Due to a very nice post on Ask Historians, leather armor, I now know, is a thing that existed, and the French word, the word cuirass is derived from the French word for cured leather. So, there are descriptions of leather armor, at least partially leather armor, but in practice what it likely actually ends up being is leather or rawhide over a few layers of quilted linen. That seems to, in some testing, that seems to offer the best defenses. Obviously that's worse than metal armor, but it's still pretty good.
Horizons, some of us further than others. Your father cannot see what you see, but there is nothing wrong with seeing the world the way you do.
Okay, thank you, Glenna. Yep. So yeah, it does exist, and in fact would have been probably better than if you mix leather and fabric. That offers better protection than either one individually, unless you have a lot of layers of fabric. Something like what Senua is wearing doesn't really offer a whole lot of protection, but looks good. And I mean, apparently the reason why that offers no protection is that it's a single layer of fabric, then stitched in with an overpiece of leather. So it's just not enough material to be protective. Something that, like studded leather in D&D terms, does not exist, because that's just a brigandine, so cloth plus leather plus metal plates riveted together. And then turn it inside out, and it looks like it's just studded leather, but it's actually supposed to have metal plates on the outside. Anyway, something about this place looks very spooky, so... As you can hear, there's a lot of fire going on around us. That's okay. Lots. Now we can kill this guy off again. Here's another one of these. Ow. Dang. But I should also say, in this particular context, these guys are kind of fitting Senua's memories, traumatized memories of the what it means to be. Oh wow, that was kind of a pathetic ending. Anyway, these guys are trying to, or a reflection of Senua's traumatized memories of when Vikings came and sacked her village, and so it intentionally kind of leans into some of these misleading stereotypes about them, in order to kind of show how traumatized she is and how she's not really able to separate human, animal.
Burning human flesh. And I still hear their cries carried in the wind. Do you hear them too, Senua?
Yes, I heard their screams, and I still hear them now.
Okay, yeah. I talked about the animal heads in terms of hybridity, and that there are human-animal hybrids in Norse literature quite frequently. But yeah, in terms of that being a thing, historically speaking, it's not. That's very much one of the. I don't see it. Why does that claim that that's here? It's not here. There it is. It's super not a thing. Historically speaking, they did not wear animal heads in ordinary context. Animal heads may have played a role in ritualized contexts, for kind of shamans or godly, doing something specific and trying to access another world through self-dehumanizing themselves. But in terms of, the wear an animal head to go terrorize the poor monks, that's completely made up just for no reason. Similarly, this particular style of execution of hanging is just crucifixion on a different shape. That's not a thing either. They needed it to make the rune shape, but yeah, it's just not real. Which is cool. Anyway, we are trying to just make runes. We make runes.
The path to Helheim is sealed to the living. And you already walk amongst the dead. Look towards the gate, and you will see that it has opened.
And we open this gate, which is much more like what any sort of gate would probably end up looking like, well, just being a palisade
When you first came
with
into my
wicker.
lands, I knew enough of their tongue to beg for mercy, and they took me as a slave. I wish now that they had slaughtered me like the others. I roamed their Stormfire, death, slavery to many lands. This darkness you speak of? I know it well.
And I'm still here to fight it.
Okay. Also, yeah, Druth is portraying the Vikings here as aggressively violent to the point of slaughtering whole villages. This occasionally happens, but is definitely not what our best evidence actually seems to suggest was actually going on. Because you can't keep visiting a place if you murder the hell out of everyone. They would occasionally. There definitely are cases that are confirmed of very large mass graves in the Viking Age, seemingly as a consequence of Viking attacks, but they are nowhere near as thorough, thoroughly violent as Druth portrays them as. Or in fact, as this shows them as either. Nah. This way. Think it.
She's ready. You're a capable warrior. Remember your training. Finish this. End it now. She's so weak. She's so weak. They can see you're weak. You finished it. Find a good position. Behind you.
And yeah, you can also hear that these guys are not speaking in human words. You know what, screw it. And we get to see more of these Arkham runes. Oh, come on.
Keep down. Finish it.
Ow. Too slow. Awesome. So yeah, they're not speaking in human words. They're not even saying anything that vaguely sounds like human speech. So this one really plays up the animalian instinct for aspects of these guys. They're just pure and simple semi-animals that commit mass murder and inflicted a whole lot of pain on Senua, and she is just trying to get revenge. This is obviously not how the experience would be, certainly from the Norse perspective, and in terms of historical reality of how much slaughter they committed, is probably, or is definitely inaccurate. In terms of the psychological damage being part of a village or a monastery that got raided, especially in the early days of the Viking Age before any sort of a way to kind of quickly mobilize around them, we'll go, this is an entirely plausible psychological trauma that got inflicted. Anyway, now we see this, which is looks like the kind of runestone that you might see from Opus, the Morsgård runestone, or some of the ones from Sweden that show humanoid faces in this kind of super stylized form. The actual shape is not so much. Usually you just would get wider at the base and not get narrower again. But yeah. For our purposes, this lights everything on fire. It's actually possible to die here if you run too slowly, but we should be okay.
Hell will not give you the answers you want. But you mustn't look away from the horrors it does offer. Because you cannot overcome suffering if you refuse to look at it.
No, Druth also wears an animal head. This is far more in the style of
It was everywhere.
in the kind of shamanistic
It was a
mode.
test.
Druth is supposed to be some kind of shaman, and so
So discreet. He's waiting. How will she get through?
She'll need to find
yes,
another
fine.
way.
We will need to find another way.
Find your own
There's
We
always
will
another
need to find another way. There's something down that way.
way. You just have to find it.
Yes, thank you, voices. You make it really hard to talk when you are talking over me and distracting me from everything I'm saying. You know that, voices? So if you could just kindly shut up. Where was I? Oh yeah, Druth, wearing a skull on top of his head of some kind of small-ish animal. Looks like it's trying to fit this popular stereotype of a shaman to kind of emphasize his apparent wisdom. Though, well,
The Northmen say that the defender of Muspel is called Surt, the foremost of the fire giants. His name means the Black One, because he is like something burnt. The Northmen believe that he sits at the border of Muspel with his flaming sword, and at the end of the world he will leave his post. He will travel to Asgard and Midgard, waging war against all the gods. He will be victorious, and then burn the whole world with fire.
well. Again, kind of notice a contradiction here of that he's sitting in there at the top of that bonfire, waiting for me, but he's also sitting at the edge of the world, even though we're in hell.
Another gate.
She needs to find it.
So there's kind of an inherent contradiction going on in here, which is kind of cool. That it's acknowledging that in the runestones, and that this is definitely a constructed world of
It's too
kind
far.
She'll
Uh,
never find it. She'll never make her way back.
She needs to remember the way back.
What happens when she finds it?
Everything will burn.
Concentrate on where you're going. She needs to remember the path.
Everything will burn. Then how will she find the way back?
She won't. She won't be able to tell.
Okay, so we can take a look at another runestone because we just had one.
The Northmen believe that the world will be destroyed someday. They call it Ragnarok, the destiny of the gods. Asgard will be attacked by Surt and the fire giants. A monstrous wolf will swallow the sun, and the gods will fight in vain against their enemies. There is nothing they can do to prevent it, but Odin ever seeks knowledge and magic, hoping to find a way to postpone that dark day.
Yep. And that's a summary of several different sources on Ragnarok, found on the Prose Edda and the Poetic Edda. Again, Villisfell, Vafthrudismal, and Grimnismal account the big three.
Made fire sacrifices, burning slaves like me to reveal the path to Surt. I searched for meaning in their suffering, in their eyes, but they just screamed like helpless pigs.
And I don't know of any sacrifices to try and locate Surt to take him out. Far as I know, that's not a thing. So, yay for made up Norse religions. This game does have a historical advisor, as we saw at the beginning, Elizabeth Ashman Rowe, who is someone I personally know and greatly respect, but obviously the historical advisor has pretty limited ability to change important details. Some of it, she actually enacted a lot more changes to this than you would expect, but there are some misconceptions that are just too important to the story to get right, and the story comes first, and the study of, or the presentation of trauma comes first. So, yeah. That's one case where I believe they just changed something that, or created something out of whole cloth, and there's nothing that they can do about it. Anyway, let's go light things on fire again. Hey, cool, that one didn't crush me this time. That one sometimes crushes me.
Do your gods answer your prayers, Senua? I asked the gods for mercy, all of them, even theirs. None answered. In the end, I set myself free. Defy the gods, Senua! Find your own path, like I find mine!
My gods abandoned me. I am alone.
Yep. Brother Jerome, yeah, well, only the truly learned truly understood the full theology of the religion, a lot more than the layman anyway. So this is just Senua's construction based on a limited understanding. Reminds me of a source I read about a Christian who didn't know much about his own faith, since the priest didn't do much to enlighten him and thus filled the holes with heretical beliefs. Yep, this is definitely true, but it's important to note here, even part of that, Senua is not a believer in the Norse gods. Her gods, the ones that abandoned her, are Pictish. She is her only information about the Norse beliefs comes from Drew, who is himself not a believer and in fact is biased against them. The designers use the runestones as a way to kind of retell the stories and get them more accurate than Senua's, or tell them more fairly than perhaps what Senua actually believes. But yeah, this is definitely a case of working on a very limited understanding and reconstructing a horribly traumatized world from these snippets of reality, or snippets of the story she has heard, and building a reality out from fragments. So yeah, like that definitely is why the contradiction exists, but it's a nice contradiction that it's nice that it gets recognized in the game, and the contradiction is plainly presented to kind of hint at the unreality of this whole thing. Because the rest of this, a lot of this space, is trying to be pretty plausible. Like, the right-ish kind of buildings, not exactly right, but close, and the right-ish sort of physical space, and so a lot of this, and the right aesthetic designs, and so a lot of this is trying to be plausibly Norse and buy into what we think of as plausibly Norse. But placing the contradiction here so plainly hints at something we'll see at the very end of the game as this world breaks down.
The corpse ship. And when the sons of Muspel leave the ship and ride to battle, it will be as though the sky had split open, and Surt will lead them. Wherever he goes, flame will erupt before him, and fires will burn behind him.
So we got another sacrifice up here. Also got another gate up there. Just gonna have to go through this area to unlock the gate.
The Northmen of Hell worship the Devourers, insatiable gods of darkness. I come from Erin, Senua, where I once followed my own gods, the Tuatha De Danann.
Why did you abandon your gods?
Senua, I was a man of knowledge, not a warrior. To survive, I did things. Things. Like you, Senua. The man I once was has died. And when that happens, even gods you worship can die with you.
So yeah, that kind of comments on your point, Brother Jerome. That yeah, the he is worshipping the Tuatha, and Senua worships a different set of gods, and the Norse people are worshipping even a third set. Okay, let's try and figure out where the hell it's supposed to be here. I don't see it. Oh, on the ground there. And yep, that just opens up this. So this whole building that we went through is now going to turn very badly. Oh, I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way there. Good times. She's fine though. We're fine. A little bit more creep on that. That's weird. I know I'm supposed to go this way. Wonder why I didn't. Wonder why I went wrong there. Oh well. We'll try it again, because unlike Senua, we have no fear of fire. There we go. Come on, cross faster. Don't have to do this one more time. Oh, which fucking direction is the... There it is. Oh, for God's sake. There we go.
You say the world has collapsed. Good. Let it collapse. And have the courage to shed your tears. Raise your world to the cry!
My world is dead.
Only then, as with a newborn, will you see the world anew.
Okay.
I see nothing now.
So, arguably, like, this is a, like, valid ritual and psychological technique to deal with trauma. And certainly, like, initiation rituals, in some ways, are supposed to be a crossing into another world, and a destruction of how the world had been, in order to see the world in a new way as an adult member of society. So this actually bears some reference to what actually is, like, done in some rituals, though it's a much more extreme version of it.
The Northmen say that what we see as a rainbow is the bridge that goes from the world of men to the world of the gods. For now, they say the frost giants and mountain giants cannot cross it. But they say that when Ragnarok comes, not a thing in this world will be safe. The rainbow bridge will break under the onslaught of the fire giants riding on flaming steeds. Listen, I have seen the fire of Surt spread far and wide, and to our lands. Ragnarok is coming.
Good times. So we've got 3 things this time, instead of the 2 of all the other ones in this room.
Tell me truth. How did
And then
you
we are
escape
almost
the
there.
darkness?
Once I found my purpose, I was no longer enslaved to the suffering I had to endure to reach it. Unclouded by fear, I could see it clearly in others. Even my captors feared the fire of Surt. And so, during one raid, I took my chance and ran, knowing that they would not follow. The fool ran into the fire. They left me for dead. Maybe they were right to. But here I am, free.
I'm glad I found you in the wilds. I wouldn't have made it without you.
Yo. So that pretty much sums up a lot of Drew's story. I have a... Oh, this is where I came from. Whoops. He's going in search of the letter Thorn. Good letter, wish it was still in English. Let's see. There it is. All sorts of oddities. So this opens up one more fire path, and then we get to fight Surt. I'm actually doing really well in time, so we may keep going a little bit farther to get try and meet Hela before we end the stream today. Shouldn't be too much longer of a section, but we'll see. Then we go up there and we will fight start. Yeah, one more big bit of wicker wood.
If I can survive the fire of certain and escape my darkness, then so can you.
And now we fight one more fire and we have a big fight against. Yo, this town burns, and this wicker burns. And then we'll light on fire a little bit, and it's fine. Oh. Her face is now completely burnt. But that was how it is supposed to be. We are not done.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This darkness takes everything. Everyone.
Are you sure you want to do this? We can fight this together, side by side. We always do.
This is my battle. I have to face it alone, away from here.
Where will you go?
I don't know.
For how long?
I don't know.
I believe in you. You know that. Just promise me that you will come back to me. I want you to say it. I want you to say it.
I will come back to you. I promise.
Come on.
So, Sartor
Destroyed everything, everyone, but not me. Fight now!
is obviously a even bigger, burlier Viking. Ow.
Don't give up.
Come on, I totally dodged that. Anyway, as I was saying, Cert is based on the Wicker Man, which is a I think mostly post-medieval Scandinavian sacrifice. I'm not super familiar with the Wicker Man. Obviously, there's the movie. I'm just gonna back up from this. No, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I should have broken him. There we go. Cool, I got him. That was fast. Anyway, yeah, I am not all that familiar with it. Obviously, there's the old movie, and then there's the Nicolas Cage movie, based on that sacrifice ritual, which is a human sacrifice ritual, actually, of someone being bound up in a man made of wicker and then burnt. And Surtur is clearly inspired by that design with the burning wicker face mask. But as to the significance of that, yeah.
A greater battle takes its place. And so it goes. Until we fall.
Oh, we are having some frame rate troubles.
In the end, we all fall. Even the gods have their time. Yet we still go on.
I made a promise, and I will go to hell to keep it.
I die free, knowing you will carry my stories with you. I have fulfilled my quest.
Yep, we are pretty badly desynced.
Darkness comes. I vow to guide you in this life and the next to fulfill yours.
Apologies for this technical problems. My bitrate is absolutely tanked as well. Looks like it's recovering now,
Horror
slowly.
in the eye, as I have, to find your answers.
But technical problems aside,
Your quest.
that kind of finishes off our introduction to Ruth and to his the reason why he's here with us. He'll keep joining us for the entire rest of the game as kind of a guiding voice, but well, we killed Surtur. And yeah, Leander, this is a very brutal depiction of Surtur, as opposed to Thor Ragnarok's one, more supervillain type. But yeah, it is taking just a big pastiche of various time periods, folk perspectives, and some religious things, some magical things, from all over Scandinavian things, and making this big horror experience out of it to make it as traumatizing as possible to witness. And by and large, it does that without sacrificing historical, at least reference for it.
Talking with them on their raids drove him to madness, spreading this new form of darkness to new worlds, to my world.
Yeah. So this well, at least the bitrate's finally recovering, because my god, it was not good there for a while. Yep. Anyway, I believe, yeah, we just need to go back down there through. I was worried I was going the wrong way, but I appear to have debated myself several times. Because I think we actually are just supposed to go down all the way through the village to get back out of here. And now Surtur's fires have been extinguished, so we should be pretty good to keep going and finish off and make our way into Helheim properly. We've still been on the wrong side of the bridge, so we've been around the border, though. An interesting thing is that this game completely lacks the
connection formed between the Northland and the darkness. His tales of hell were true. Then that was the source of it. She learned everything she could from him, until she too could see what he saw.
No. Completely lacks the get to do whether this. There she is. in Laxley historical guard or the mythological guardian of the bridge, Modbuf, is completely absent from this game. Instead, we're going to see how it guards her bridge herself. I should walk the correct direction again. Well, we did these two things. We have walked through this very tortured Scandinavian-esque landscape. Yeah, it's hard to like really place where this is. It's just this grey rock. It could be Icelandic, it could be Norwegian.
Have you ever died before?
Yeah.
It's a serious question. An illusion of self is shattered. You simply cease to be. Though it may not seem that way to others, you know when it is true. You can feel it. A stranger in your own body. An imposter. And nothing is the same ever again. Someone has died. And she will do so again. You can be sure of that.
Yay. I've been reading a lot of psychology recently, more general psychological theories, for literary criticism, for my professional research, and that sounds an awful lot like some of the things I've been reading.
The Mark of Sirtis, you may cross the bridge over the River of Knives to Helheim.
Anyway, let's see what's on the other side of this. We got 1 and 2, and this whole mess of symbols, looks like it's mostly just junk symbols. Jumbled runes, jumbled autumn runes, really not some jumbled, just other scribbles. It's trying to be as chaotic as possible.
Why is she waiting? Open the gate. Open the gate. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Don't open the gate. She's done it.
And here we go. More darkness.
So dark. It's dark. The dark. Only the dead may cross. Only the dead may cross. Only the dead may cross.
We seem to be in a different time though, since now Senua has no rot and no face, no world, face paint or arm paint. So where's someone else?
Truth? Anyone?
There is no one here but me.
But you...
Did you think that I would let you go? That you lost me back in the wilds? I will never let you go. You can't get rid of me. I am your shadow. And I will be watching when you draw your last dying gasp.
I'm not ready to die.
You will be when you see what they did to your dear beloved.
So
In this waking nightmare, where all dreams come true, you searched for control, a way to pull through. When you were in love, you left no tears to smother your furies and banish your fears. But in darkness they came, through stormy black seas they raided these shores. Do you still hear his screams? And now, towards your home, he's so far away. They've taken his soul, gods you cannot pray.
There we go.
Break you, but not your promise. Even death won't keep you apart. Through his darkness you will find him. In your sword still beats a heart. You fought for love unspoilt. By your darkness within. You fought for your dreams. Now there's no way to win. In the head of his corpse lies the seat of his soul. So you must carry his vessel to bring him back home.
So Dillian was killed pretty obviously from that glimpse we got by, at the very least, having the skin off his back laid off and stretched, and more likely that's supposed to be he got blood eagled.
They can break you, but not your promise. Even death won't keep you apart. Through this darkness you will find him. In your sword still beats a heart.
I've spoken about Blood Eagles a few times already, but I have a little more information this time. There's more evidence for it than I thought there was.
Everyone could see it in the hollows of your eyes. A gaze averted from life. You ran from it but brought it nearer. Led it to him. An endless suffering worse than death. And you wanted to surrender, abandon to find peace with the gods. No. The darkness won't allow it. So you will walk into the lair of the beast. Look it in the eye, and you will go to war. This is your mission. This is your quest. There is nothing else left.
Okay, so the stream may have just frozen a little bit. I just got an alert that 99% of the frames got dropped over the last minute. So that's fun. Hopefully it's back for you guys. Let me know if it is. And until then, we're going to talk about, well, the more information on the Blood Eagle that I have from last time. Because there was a lecture recently on the Blood Eagle and on its the evidence for it, and it was a collaboration to see if one of the things that we wanted to see is, or that the research team wanted to see, was whether there was enough there to indicate that it is completely impossible. As it turns out, it's not.
Why some of them pass when there is a new road ahead? The only one that makes any sense.
Awesome. I'm glad to know that it did not complete the time. Whatever, we'll do that to heal, and we'll punch him in the face.
End it now. This is nearly the end.
Awesome. So you just walked across that bridge and murdered everything in sight. And now we're right here by this thing that I said earlier. Probably looks like a stave church. Possibly an extremely, like, much too large hall. More likely looks to me like a stave church. But first, finishing up with the Blood Eagle. They wanted to do testing, or not actual testing, but at least consulting with medical experts to see if the lavish description of cutting someone's ribs off of their spine, ripping that open, and then pulling the lungs out through the gap was possible. They concluded that it is, but it does not look very impressive because lungs completely collapse when they're exposed to open air, and so you end up with a couple of little sad-looking fists instead of wings, like what we saw in Drew's hanging corpse. So yeah, Blood Eagles. I'm still of the opinion that they're not really a real thing, so much as there was like a superficial carving. But regardless, it does seem to have been an execution, such as whatever it was, seems to have been reserved for high-ranking Scandinavians, so not something they would have done to Drew for any reason. And yeah, that music is sick. It is extremely just... No, they did not test it, but they did consult with several doctors. Like half the author team on that paper, when it comes out, is going to be doctors. And so they tested it, or... I keep saying tested, that's not the right word. They talked through each step and what would actually require, and what that would actually look like. And yeah, it's a rough time. They need to make it very clear that the person would die due to both blood loss and asphyxiation within the first minute of the procedure, and this is a several minute long procedure. Okay.
Every gate you open into darkness brings another death.
So here's the Berserker, who is, you know, all of it but more. I think I got it, yes. Ow. Oh yeah, the Ethics Commission would be kinda spooky. Kinda spooked by that idea. God, such a slow attack. And my god, my computer is struggling. So... Oh cool, I just died. Almost. Working on it. Awesome. But we got the heal off, which means we are fine. Luckily, Focus also completely heals. Completely heals, which is a nice... Oh wow. Big hit. I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. We got it. We're probably going to drop more frames in a moment, because my bitrate is bad and my computer is running very hot. But that's okay, because we are inside this building, and we are almost at the end of this stream. Yep, it'll be back soon. We just are fighting people, and we're going to try and let everything recover, because there's no reason it should be running this hot. And the fact that it is kind of concerning. Anyway, we need to get a few of these. We should be back now. Luckily we only missed combat, which honestly is not that exciting, though the music is excellent, and the music sounds...
The journey to Helheim is never a straight one. Each must find their own path. Align yourself to its secrets, and you will find yours.
Yep. The music sounds like extremely Norse, and in fact is one of... I don't know who did the music, it may be Wardruna, but some of the music actually, I think, does use Iron Age
However you come to the gold-covered bridge
poems
that leads to
as lyrics, but
you
mostly
will
just
find
kind of
it
sounds
guarded
like
by a giantess. She will ask your name. She will ask your lineage. She will ask your business. The Northmen tell of the warrior woman Brynhild, who leapt into fire and rode to hell to join her slain love's city.
So that one, I don't know if I skipped one, though I don't think so. That reference is to the poem Hellride Brynhildar, so the Hellride of Brynhild, which does meet Mordgluth, who I mentioned earlier. Oh. I know what I did. Should be like this one? No. Why is it giving me the sign for this one here? There's no reason. Go underneath here. We drop more frames and then we get back on the usual. Okay then. I don't know why it just started chugging this badly, to be honest. I don't have an answer. It is deeply annoying. And yeah, we can keep going here a little bit more. Luckily we're almost at the end, and this is another reason why I think this fits. Well, we have more of the same deal here with the intricately carved interlace in stone, and yeah, we are close to done. We've got only a few minutes left in the stream, so hopefully this doesn't go too crazy.
Hela possesses large dwelling places in Helheim. Tall are her walls, high are her gates. The name of her dish is hunger. Her knife is famine. On her threshold all will stumble. Her bed is called sick bed, and her bed hangings are called flames of a funeral pyre. They say she is easy to recognize, half black and half the color of flesh, and her face menacing and grim.
Okay, so that description of Hela is taken straight from the Prose Edda. That's actually a direct translation of the description of how found in Snorri's Darkle Sun's Guild Beginning. Another fun note, reminder that Snorri's Guild Beginning was composed in the 1220s, while this game takes place in the 800s. So yeah, that's just the thing. We're just going to leave it at that and just acknowledge the anachronism and move on. And here's where we're actually going to end the stream, because we are about at the end, which is good because everything's dying horribly. So one more line here, we're going to meet Hela, and then we're going to call it a night.
The gate. It's opening.
What a darkness.
It's coming.
That song again. It's Hela.
Yes, the source of the darkness. It's coming. This is your moment.
Yeah, so that's Hela. Everyone say hi. And you can see her and Snorri.
You're showing weakness.
Half of her body is normal and the other half is blue as death, which blue and black are the same color, so it's fine, or mostly.
Pick up the sword.
Dead people are blue instead of black.
Fight it. Get up. Get up. Get up and fight.
But that half is that color, the color of rot. In this game, the half that's black is the color of charred flesh. And now we get to watch one more cutscene.
Stormy seas and lost souls. She's dreamt of this before. They say dreams are visions of our memories, thoughts and fears, as seen by our inner eye.
But what if each one of us is always dreaming, even when awake, and we only see what our inner eye creates for us?
Is this what hell is? A world shaped by Senua's nightmares. Maybe that's why people fear seeing the world through her eyes. Because if you believe that Senua's reality is twisted, you must accept that yours might be too.
You failed the gods. You're pathetic. Rotten. Cursed. What were you thinking? Did you really think you could win? How stupid young you is. Everyone hates her. She's cursed.
The shadow.
Look at you. A warrior. Worthless. Weak. Pathetic. Go on. Feel sorry for yourself, because there's no one left to do that for you. Take it. If you're too much of a coward to fight, then end the suffering. Broken and lost. Just like your sword.
Why go on when you give everything and face that which torments you, only to find that it is worse than you could have imagined? Why go on? Is it really so weak to ask this? Or are we just so afraid of the honest answer that we do not dare pose the question? Sometimes the answer lies in a memory, a feeling, a song.
It's not real. It's true.
Who are you?
Do you still believe in me, Sharon?
It's a trick. It's a trick. He's already dead. He can't be here. It's impossible.
Tillis.
Come to me. Please.
The light. Go towards the light. It's him.
Okay.
There he is. It can't be him. It's just a trick. It's
That
behind
did
us.
a beautiful bit
Behind us.
of
It's happening. Go towards it.
musical storytelling, because obviously that song is not uh, does not use Celtic instruments or really have particularly Celtic memory. It uses a guitar, an electric guitar. So a nice little bit of like the same modernization that goes on with the battle music being this drum-heavy, chant-like music, counterpointing that with a much more traditional melody line that to what is Western ears far more, I think, aesthetically pleasing, if less impactful, is a really nice emotional counterpoint to make this work. Unfortunately, the game is a slideshow,